I realized I forgot to introduce myself. My name's Jonathan Jobin. I'm the chairman of the board for Our Father's House, and I'm the pastor at Lakeview Baptist Church. And again, I'd like to welcome you, and thank you for being here. And that song really sums up what this is about. We're talking about eternal souls, and we're talking about our neighbors. And there's a lot of expense involved in recovery ministry, and there's a lot of time that goes in to ministering to the addicted and the broken. But that's what Jesus Christ came for. He didn't come to reach just billions and billions when he came. He ended up with 12 in the last hours, and emphasizing the value of even just one person. And so this is a fundraising banquet. We are going to ask you to help us with some money, and so that it's good to remind you what that's really about. It's not going to line anybody's pocket or make anybody rich, but it's going to reach souls. And so I want to give you a little bit of background about Our Father's House. Some of you may have heard some things. Some of you may already be familiar with some of the things I'm going to say, but why Our Father's House? And Luke chapter 4 and verse 18, Jesus Christ gave his mission statement after his baptism. He comes back into Nazareth, and long story short, you can go and put yourself in that place. But when he goes into the synagogue and he stands up to read, he looks for the place. He was looking for a particular scripture. It wasn't just he was standing up to read just to participate. He was looking for a particular passage, and Luke records it where he reads as this. It's found in Isaiah 61, but Luke records it in verse 18. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, for he hath anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor. He hath sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to preach deliverance to the captives, and recovering of sight to the blind, to set at liberty them that are bruised. It's been many years ago, but that verse jumped off the page. I was praying about whether to start an addiction outreach at our church, and that verse just jumped off the page, and the Lord spoke to me and said, you see, I always have been about those people. You know, that's how church folks refer to the addicted, those people. And it brokenhearted, poor. How many of you have been in addiction, what most people consider addiction, alcohol, drug addiction? How many of you have a background there? You can testify of the poor part, right? Brokenhearted, a lot of times people don't see that. They don't realize the root causes behind it. But Jesus Christ came for that, and he came to preach deliverance to the captives and recovering of sight to the blind. You know, a lot of addicted people, they can't tell for a long time that they have a problem. And then once they become aware of the fact that they have a problem, usually it's after everyone else has already seen it, and usually after there's real negative consequences coming through in their life. But they're blind to how to get out of that place. They need someone to come along beside them, and someone that understands what it's like to be captive. And maybe you've never seen yourself as that, but if you look deep enough, you'll find some captivity there somewhere. But to set at liberty them that are bruised. Now, the mission statement of Our Father's House is to establish a ministry based on the gospel of Jesus Christ that will receive men released from jail and provide a facility and environment to house, care for, and equip them to return into the community, prepared to be productive members of society, committed to living a godly life. Now, that is a mission. I've been involved in jail ministry for, 10, 11 years or so, and not everyone is going to want that, but there are some. And let me describe to you just for a moment their circumstances. Brother Justin Daniel and Brother Justin Evans are going to give a testimony here in a little bit, and they can attest to this, but many times when fellows are incarcerated, when they get out, they have 30 days to find a job, start paying fines, a lot of times pay child support, and most of them know that they can make big money within 24 hours of their release. What would you do in that consequence, in that circumstance? What would you do? They're unemployable because of their track record, so on and so forth, and many of them feel hopeless. And if they had a place to go, I've seen many men that if they had a place to go, they would return to it. But if they go back home, if they go back into their neighborhood, a lot of times if they go back to their family, then they're going to get sucked right back into the old habits, the old ways. And so our vision is to provide a safe haven, a transformation house for men that have been released or paroled from jail. And it's to be a Christ-centered facility, a ministry to prepare men to enter the community as productive citizens. Its main focus is to assist men in transforming from their former life into a committed follower of Jesus Christ while providing a home with a caring, supportive, and equipping environment. This is obviously, it's going to require someone that wants that. We'll talk about the building that we have right now in a little bit, but this building actually very much symbolizes what our task is with these men. There's a structure there, there's a life there, sometimes there's even skills there, but there's no foundation underneath it, and there's so much that needs torn down first, and sometimes you gotta take a pause, you gotta jack the whole house up off of whatever the foundation that's there was, and then put a proper foundation underneath it, set the house back down, and then build to it, and in a way that envisions or portrays what we're envisioning for this. It's envisioned that there will be practical training in developing essential life skills, substance abuse recovery, and nurturing a growing relationship with the Lord Jesus Christ. It's also further envisioned that this ministry will be provided at no cost to the person participating in it. We're not looking to make a buck off of people's misery, and that often, how many of you are aware of the costs of like a 28-day rehab? I mean, it can be $30,000 is not unheard of at all, and sometimes more depending on the facility. A cheap one would be $10,000. Well, that's cost prohibitive to most people. And when you realize you have a problem, let alone in 30 days, that might get your body clean, but you still gotta get your mind transformed. You gotta relearn how to think properly. And so this is gonna take some time, and we're looking at this being a 12-month work at your own pace program in 4 phases. The first phase will focus on personal growth. You'd be amazed how many addicts don't know how to prepare the meal you just ate. That might be surprising to you. I'm not painting a picture of all addicts, but how many men in here know how to cook? Raise your hand if you know how to cook. All right. Well, there's a lot of men that don't know how to cook themselves a decent, nutritious meal. And nutrition is part of life. And so nutrition classes, cooking classes, we already have volunteers coming on and saying, hey, I have a background in this. Just had last week a man say, hey, I took some culinary classes way back in the day, and pretty much all I use it for is cooking around the house, but I'd love to be able to come along and teach these men how to cook. And so there's all kinds of things that fall in that personal growth, helping them get a GED, getting their at least their high school diploma taken care of, personal finance, all those kind of things will be in that phase. Then the second phase is community service, learning to serve others. There's a joy in serving others. Now, don't get me wrong, some of the most giving people you'll ever meet are addicts. The only problem is they're also some of the most taking people when they're in the opposite mindset. But being involved in the community and benefiting the community. So this program is not just taking from people that are supporting it, but also giving back in various ways and helping other community organizations and that sort of thing out. Then the third phase is employment, helping them get started in a work environment that's going to help them and not hurt them. There are places where you can go to work tomorrow and you'll be offered pills before the end of the day. And so partnering with people that understand what we're about and helping these men get on a regular work schedule. And then the fourth phase is where we turn them over to dependence on Christ. We're still with them, but that's where they can get a job wherever they want to, and we're helping them segue into responsible living in the community. So that's how we envision accomplishing this. Now, who is Our Father's House? Legally, Our Father's House Incorporated is a recognized nonprofit organization, 501c3, and registered with the state of Tennessee. So donations are tax deductible if you give that much in a year. And we want to do everything above board. We want to do everything properly, legally, and safely, and all those kind of things. Practically speaking, our Father's House is a cooperative effort of local churches coming together to address the problem of recidivism in Ray County. How many of you are familiar with the jail website where you can see who's in and you can check out people's arrest records? You know what you see a lot of times? Same guys, over and over and over. It's just a revolving door, and that is a huge burden on our community. You're paying the cost for people that are in addiction, and I'll tell you, if you solve the addiction problem, 90% of the jail would be empty. I've been in there. I've talked to the fellas cell to cell, and now they may not have got arrested for possession or distribution or something like that. It might have been theft, or it might have been a domestic, or it might have been some other charge, but at the root of it is the addiction. And so we want to help with that spiritually. Our Father's House is followers of Jesus participating in his mission as revealed in Luke 4:18, as we mentioned there, preaching deliverance to the captives. And sometimes the world says, fill in the blank for me. Once an addict, always an addict. Most people here know what the world says. You realize that that is not what Jesus says? Jesus says, if any man be in Christ, he's a new creature. Old things are passed away. Behold, all things are become new. And it is possible to be transformed. It is possible to be free. I told Brother Wojciech, I'm going to try to stick to my notes really carefully, but I'm going to take this one little aside. Sober living is a horrible way to live. It's miserable because you're not free. When you're sober, it still has a hold on your mind, and you still think about it constantly. You can be free, and your loved one can be free. It's possible. There are people here in this room tonight. If you don't mind, if you have been in the bondage of addiction in the past and you are free tonight, not just sober, but free, would you stand up? Those are people that are testifying that what I'm telling you is true. It's possible to not just be sober, but to be free. And so that's the message we're proclaiming. Organizationally, our Father's House is a board comprised of local church pastors and church members from various backgrounds. We formed a preliminary board back in 2024 to get the ball rolling. And some of the members that were on the preliminary board are not on the current board, but I'm going to ask for the current board members if you would stand so people can see where you are. We'll introduce real quick Brother Jim Wojciech. He's a pastor at Grace Bible Church. I always get that messed up. Brother Justin Daniel is pastor at Faith Baptist Church up on Grandview. Brother Steve Zimmerman, Brother Justin Evans, J.T. Evans, and Brother Bob Nordike. And then there's a couple of men here that were on the preliminary board, John Fields and Al Buxton. Where are you gentlemen at? If you would just stand to be recognized for just a second. And is Brother Wayne Simmons here also? I hadn't seen him tonight, but these men helped get the ball rolling and get things started. And there's also some committee members that are working with the board right now. Paul Robbins is the sound booth back there. Rusty 2, I think, is behind me. And Dan Fry, who's you'll hear from him momentarily here, our project manager, project coordinator. I don't know what his official title is, but he's the one making things happen on the house that we're dealing with. So let me give you a little bit of history. This house that we have at 165 Old Landfill Road used to, I was never there, but I hear it used to be a drug house. Used to be maybe even some prostitution run out of there. And it was a fairly dilapidated building, and that's the history of that facility or that house for many, many years. How did this come about? Some men from Grace Bible Church had been involved in prison ministry and jail ministry over the years, were aware of this revolving door problem, aware of the addiction problem. At Lakeview Baptist Church, we hosted the Reformers Unanimous Addictions Outreach for 13 years on Friday evenings, working with addicts in Spring City. And then Faith Baptist Church, Brother Justin Daniel was one of them. And then God got a hold of them in the Pikeville jail, and they formed, I'm condensing a lot of things down here, but they formed a church up in Grandview. And then through the Lord making connections, insert 10-minute story. And Brother Daniel came by at a critical moment for me, and I was pouring my heart out about him, about wanting to do something about this. He had a burden to do something for others that had been in the situation he was in. He said, hey, there's some men that I know that are working in the jail. And the Lord put us together, and then we had to explore, hey, can we work together? What do we believe? What are we going to say this is what this ministry is about? And how does it work, cooperation amongst different churches? And so it took a little bit of time to get things going. And then as we got moving and we're hammering out bylaws and that sort of thing, Ray County Executive Jim Vincent, who is here, and I would like to recognize, had a burden for seeing the men in and out of the jail and wanting something that is affordable, preferably free. And the state has an opioid fund, and so he had a burden for that. And the Lord just put all these different things that he had been preparing, some of these things for years, and brought them together, and for such a time as this, I would say. We applied for 501c3 status. How many of you have ever gone through that application process? The application really isn't extremely difficult, but you're dealing with the IRS and waiting on them. Well, Mr. Vincent contacted Congressman Desjardins. I always pronounce it incorrectly. But he contacted him, and we wrote him a letter, asked him for his assistance. We submitted our application May 14th, and our acceptance letter was dated May 20th. And that, even with having a congressman putting a little bit of weight on it, that's God. Because a conservative estimate is 2 months, 6 days to have a reply. And part of that is because there is such a real need for this. You might say, well, there's this ministry and that ministry, and yes, there are other ministries, but one thing about this is in Ray County, for Ray County. We're not looking at taking the world's problems, but dealing with our own problems. This is a ministry to neighbors, our neighbors. And so the Lord began bringing different things together. We had this property that was purchased with the opioid money, and then the Lord put all that together for us to be able to get it on a lease for a very, very good deal. And then bringing workers together. Bryan College has work days, and they sent some young people out multiple times. First thing was putting in a water line, and I think some of those young people that were with us, it was the first time they'd done that kind of work. But it was enjoyable, and giving them an opportunity to contribute. Then the Tri-County Quilters heard about it, and they have hand quilted, I believe it's 12 quilts, enough for each of the beds in there. And that took, I don't know how long, but what a blessing to see that. Are any of the I'm assuming ladies, but if it's men too, are any of the folks from Tri-County Quilters, are any of y'all here? If you would stand up and be recognized, because that really is a huge blessing. You know what that's going to feel like to those men? that's going to feel like mama or grandma. Amen. And then just different things. Jeremy Revis with providing our contractor cover for us. Jim Vincent Jr. Helping us navigate what do we need to do and making sure we're doing things properly. Then Dan Fry came along and, hey, we need to do this, we need to do this. And when you're dealing with construction, I mean, I can get it done, but I can get it done my way. And having people, the Lord just bringing people together. Then we started having some work days out there, and there's some pictures cycling during dinner, and you see all these people coming together. Kingdom Builders, Elijah Godzi, and I'm sorry, I don't remember Ramiro's last name. He laid some blocks a few weeks ago. Just different people with skills coming up, and maybe it's just a few hours, or maybe it's a day or 2 days. And but just people coming together. Rogers Group donated gravel for the foundation. Jewel Excavating delivered it. Homestead Motors delivered some wood that Huber had donated, and all those sort of things. So it's just the Lord just bringing all this together, and I'm just happy to be part of it. I'm glad to be part of anything God's doing. I want to recognize a couple of people, and they didn't know I was going to do this. Nobody knew I was going to do this, but I'm going to ask them to stand up. Jonathan Fry and Jaden Jobin. And is Daniel Fry here? All right. Now, if I'm leaving somebody out, forgive me, but I'm aware of these two, I'll still say young men, given a lot of their time. And Jaden's my son, Jonathan's Dan's son, and they work together during the day, and then they go out there on Tuesday evening and volunteering hours, Saturday morning volunteering hours, and that's what this is about. Just a bunch of people coming together. Rock House Ministries has sent van loads of guys from their facility over to help us multiple times, and then we've had some people come along and donate money. It takes money to get these things done. Rock House Ministries, Wolf Creek Baptist Church, Bogles Chapel Baptist Church, Big Apple Market, and then Anonymous. I don't think it's the guy with the mask, but there's people that have given, and so we've been able to get started, but there's much more work to do, and so I'm going to turn it over to Dan Fry. I'm sure I ran way over my time limit, but maybe Dan can get us back on track, tell us where things are with the facility.